And welcome back. Good evening, everyone, to another great episode of Next Round Sports. This is Chris Porter here, welcoming in my partners in crime, Caleb Culver and Jeff Amos. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
Very good.
We're just hanging on by a thread by our Texas Rangers here.
Uh, the
That's true, and
105 heat.
that's what we're going to jump into first. There's no reason beating around the bush. It's been a long week, and it's been a really long week for excuse me, everyone out there. Sorry, I've got a slight cough. I'll go ahead and let you know all about that now. But it's been a really long week for all of Texas sport. The Rangers have had it really bad here, coming off a 5-game losing streak, longest losing streak of the season, getting swept by the Milwaukee Brewers. And we talked about this last week that this was going to be a good series to help kind of show what's going on, going against another division leader, one who doesn't have the record that you have, but another division leader, and completely just wet the bed. They just haven't been looking themselves, and then losing last night's game right at the end. They're going into the extra innings to Arizona, and Arizona's not a bad team, but they're not a team you should be losing to here at this time of the season.
No, especially, I mean, this is a situation where, this is a Monday night, and I believe, well, I guess I don't live in Phoenix, so I can't confirm the school schedule, but I do know someone on my team works in the Phoenix area, and I believe they're starting to take their kids to school again. So again, you're going to have a small crowd. I know that attendance, I believe, was recorded at 21,000, but still that's a very small Arizona crowd last night. And yeah, this was a real kick in the nuts. I mean, this is arguably one of the worst losses, if not the worst loss of the year, especially since you're coming off that uh, Milwaukee sweep. You had, once again, a fantastic outing by Montgomery. That was wasted. You could have made the argument that you could have let him go the whole game as opposed to bringing in Chapman. And Chapman gave up the home run. And then also, too, a questionable decision by uh, Bruce Bochy when he had two outs uh, in this would have been the 11th inning at this point. You intentionally walk uh, Cattell Marte. Now, granted, I understand he was the one that tied the game for you, but you're up 3-1. No one's on base. And then what happens after you walk Marte? Perdomo doubles to right. Moreno scores. Okay. And then uh Marte went to third, which I don't know how he wasn't sent home. But and then you had Tommy Pham hit the double to win the game. And so that was that. That was awful.
Well, I mean,
Absolutely awful.
we can lay this on the pitcher's feet all we want to, but at the same time, what blame are we giving to the offense? The bats have gone completely cold from where we've been
Sure.
these last 6 games. So we can say, oh, well, Aroldis Chapman shouldn't have gave up that home run. Oh, Will Smith shouldn't have gave up this. He shouldn't have walked there. But at the same time, if the bats are rolling they had been before, you're not putting your pitchers in this position. Now, yes, they should be winning it at this position. That's why you have them there. However, when your bats are not rolling, your offense is not giving any help to your pitching staff. You can't rely on them every single time, every single game. That's not how you win. You got to have a combination of the two. And the bats have gone completely cold, and that's the reason why we're losing right now, hands down.
Oh, sure.
This is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't argue with that point, unfortunately. It's cold.
Right. I mean, we're at a point now where Jonah Heim, I don't even know why he's back off the DL. He's not functional. He's completely.
His bat
worthless
hasn't been
in
the
lineup.
same. His bat's been what we predicted in the spring.
Ezekiel Duran should be in AAA right now. Adelise is striking out. It's either a strikeout or a home run for him. Nathaniel Lowe has had his issues at the plate. So basically, we're down to, I don't know, the two players we spent almost $600 million for to begin with.
Simeon, Seager, and Garcia are about the only people that.
Well, no, I'm not. I mean, I'm not even putting Garcia in there at that point. I mean, he's hitting only 253 now. And again, when you have a scenario, if I'm the other team, okay, you have Semien, I can pitch a hit. I dodge Seager, and then I have Lowe and Garcia. Make those guys beat me, because they sure as hell haven't done in the month of August.
Well, that's the
And
one
there's
good thing.
nothing in the lineup to me indicates that they can help out those guys that are cold right now.
Well, if you're going to go into a slump, if you're going to go to a slump, you do it in August. This is the time to do it. This is the time to have your slump. If you're going to have one late in the season, you have it now in August.
I was about to say, let's clarify late in the season. If that's when you want to have your slump.
If you have it late in the season, you want to have it in August. You don't preferably want to have it this late in August. But if you're going to have it, you still have September. You still have a lead, even though it's a game and a half right now with the way Seattle and Houston are playing. We discussed this. We knew this was going to be a close race. I don't think any of us thought Seattle would still be right there in it.
I was about to say, that's the main storyline right now, is that Seattle's won 7 in a row.
It is. Seattle is hot.
It's officially a 3-team race right now.
It is. And we didn't think that would happen. But at the same time, we knew Houston was going to be there. We knew they weren't going away. And if you're going to have the slump, this is the time to have it. How are they going to rebound from this? How are they going to rebound from it tonight? They play Arizona again tonight. Can they get back on that winning run and start building some momentum going into the month of September? That's where it's going to happen. This is the time where you still have a little leeway that you can lose a game, or you could lose 5 games and you can still keep right the ship and be fine. If they would have had this in the middle of September, warning flags up. I'm not throwing the white flag up just yet. We still have the whole month of September. There's plenty of baseball still left to go. You still, even with this losing streak, you still have the lead, even though it's by, a nail.
It's shoestring right now.
It's right there at the end.
It's a lead.
It's a hair. You still have the lead by a game and a half over Houston, 2.5 over Seattle. You still have the lead. But they need to right the ship, and they need to do it sooner than later.
The Rangers can beat the Astros as well. And like we mentioned last time, they got 3 games against them coming up. So, I mean, heaven forbid you say best news ever, they sweep that series. You're looking pretty good at that point. But
exactly. There's still plenty of time to go, and there's a lot to do with that.
Yeah. And I mean, now I have a question for you guys then. Do y'all think this might be hangover from Josh Jung? If I'm saying his name right, Jeff, the rookie third baseman with a thumb injury, Josh Young. Yes. Do you think this may be some fallout from him? Everyone's order kind of being upended and moved around.
I don't think so. I mean, it'd be certainly nice to have him. It's just the reality is, we're in late August in Major League Baseball. Guys are going to get banged up. Some guys are going to get figured out at times. And then it's up to these players to adjust and adapt and get healthy to contend down the stretch. It's just, as Rangers fans, we're not accustomed to dealing with this type of baseball, so it's different for us. So I think it's.
You mean winning late in the season?
Yes, exactly. So. Again, Ezekiel Duran right now, again, it's been ice cold. Leody Taveras has not been good. Jonah Heim, I don't even know why he's back the way he's playing right now.
You got Matt Garver, I think I saw in a couple of games.
Yeah, Mitch Garver's still playing.
Mitch Garver's, yeah.
And Jankowski, again, that's a godsend, by the way. A guy like that has no business having a 374 on base percentage. He should be.
He's playing very well
right now. And so, and then again, when you have Lowe and Garcia just dicking around, and when you only have 2 guys that you can rely on, that means you're going to have, red hot starting pitching, and you're going to have a red hot bullpen. And typically with the Rangers this season, that hasn't gone in sync. Sometimes it will, sometimes not. I don't think they're going to need more help from their lineup if they want to win this division. because I think the way things are going right now, I think with the way that Julio Rodriguez, and we discussed this on earlier shows, had such a cold start to the season, and now a guy like that is catching fire with that rotation that they have going right now. To me, that's the favorite to win the series right now. Again, I don't think the Rangers are going to miss the playoffs, but
Right.
for me, the Mariners are the team to watch out for. Not to mention,
I'm afraid it might be a little too late for them, but we'll see.
Well, they're only two back now.
They're only 2 back, but
and they're probably only going to be 1 back, or they could only be 1 back after tonight. And just think about the schedule that they have. So they have tonight's game with Chicago, which they're up 4-1 currently. They'll have a game against Chicago tomorrow. They have 3 at home against Oakland. Or the next series, 3 at home against Kansas City. Then the next series, 3 at home against Oakland. Then the next series, 3 at the Mets. They've given up. So that is a hell of a stretch when you're hot to keep it cooking. So that is scary to me.
That's true. Now, some of those are divisional games too. So, I mean, as much as we say the A's kill the Rangers, they can beat up on any division opponent. Now, jokingly, as you know, your Nationals came back from 7-2 in the 9th inning and still beat the A's, I think last week. But, I mean, the A's, you can't count them out. It's a division game. If you go in there thinking you've got just an easy stroll because they're historically bad, I think you might come away with a black eye.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. Then 2 out of 3, you still win the series then. I mean, it's just a very, very easy stretch for the Mariners for the next up until Labor Day, especially when you look, what the Rangers have to deal with here. I mean, they have to finish Arizona, then they have to go 4 games to Minnesota. Now they get New York as well on the road, and then they'll have 3 at home against Minnesota, and then the week of Labor Day they'll have 3 at home against Houston. So again, we got a long way to go.
Yep.
Very true.
We do. And looking at the American League wild card, Tampa Bay has a 5-game lead. They're 76-51. In the wild card push. Houston 71-55, so they're only half a game up there, with Seattle 70-55 holding that 3rd spot in the wild card. Toronto only 1 game behind, 69-56. Right. So you can't count out the Blue Jays. They're still in it, especially with the trades they made at the deadline.
Sure.
They're still right in there. So even with Seattle's hot streak here, it looks like they have the chance to keep it rolling. However, Toronto does as well too, and they can't falter as well where they're at because Toronto can easily overtake them and take that 3rd wild card spot. So nothing's safe in the American League wild card race at all.
Absolutely, Chris. You make a great point. Is that we're all focused on the AL West right now, but still with the Seattle and Houston and Texas now too, with their losing streak. There's no reason why a team like Toronto can't overtake one of those teams. I mean,
and even then, Boston's only 4 games out of the wild card. Yeah, and they haven't played good all season. They did just sweep the Yankees, but the Yankees are 10 games out from it. But Boston's right there at 66-59. There's no reason if they don't go on a win streak that they could not come in and be able to squeak their way into the wild card race. There's no reason they couldn't.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's and the way that the Blue Jays rotation has been playing lately. I mean, you really have a situation of the Blue Jays. Like, look, you don't have one superstar pitcher necessarily, but you have 4 guys that when you in that rotation, if you ask yourself if they're confident to start a playoff game, then hell yeah, they are. Because I think right now they're the most consistent rotation in baseball.
Well, one funny thing I do want to look at here as we look through the American League wild card race. Out of the last out of the lowest 6 teams. Of course, we all know Oakland's in last, American League West. Going up from there, you have Kansas City, Chicago White Sox, Detroit, Cleveland, the entire American League Central besides the Twins. From there, you got the Yankees, LA, Boston, Toronto. That is just atrocious that this division is this bad.
Yeah. No, I think I read somewhere that this would be the lowest division winning percentage in the history of the division configuration. Second to Detroit's like 56%, I think, back in the early 2000s we were talking about.
Early 2000s, yeah, right around. That was not a good team.
0-3 for those Tigers team.
0-3,
okay.
There was.
Yeah.
But as we're talking wild card race, because that's the biggest part of the season. Really interesting over in the National League. The Phillies 4-game lead in that race. Cubs next, and San Francisco and Arizona tied right now for that 3rd spot, but only a half game away. Cincinnati Reds and Miami's only a game out. There's going to be a lot of exciting baseball played there in the National League coming up here to wrap up the season.
And who's only 7 games out of the wild card?
Some
Your Washington Nationals. They are still the 4th worst team in the division, but 7 games out of the wild card. We got a chance.
There's a chance.
Well, at the August 31st trade deadline, we can make some deals, see what happens, catch lightning in a bottle, sneak in the tournament. But no, seriously though, I think this really shows, how poor the National League is right now. I mean, we're talking about this last week, how the Brewers were, the 3rd best team, like at the time, with like a 546 winning percentage or something along those lines. And then they're still, even with their sweep hits, the Rangers this past weekend, they're still 544. So the National League is very, very top heavy.
Braves swept the Yankees, but they lost a game to the Mets. Swept the Yankees. They won the series with the Giants.
San Francisco on Sunday, or they
lost to them. Lost to the Giants on then, and then Monday they lost to the Mets 10-4, but they're leading the Mets right now. So 2 games.
Yeah.
Lose 5 and come talk to me.
Yeah.
I'll still.
Yeah.
But there are some controversial calls.
Yeah, I mean, the Astros still got to go through the Red Sox and the Yankees themselves and the Padres.
Well, the Padres, as we hate on the Padres, this is how bad with the National League. The Padres, as bad as they are still 5 games out of the wild card.
Yeah, and the Astros still have to face the Orioles too. So I think the schedule still favors the Rangers for sure.
A lot of interesting stories there in baseball. We've got a lot. I'm sure we can still keep talking about. Any other stories we think of, we'll bring up at the end of the Sports Gumbo. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back with some NFL news. And welcome back from the break. Thanks again for joining us here this evening, or whenever you're listening to us out there in the interweb universe. We're now ready to jump into some NFL news and different things that are going on in the league. We're getting ever so closer to the start of the season. Preseason's 2 games in, and injuries are starting to take their toll already here early on. This happens every preseason, but it's been hitting teams left and right. And there have been some big ones that have been going on. I know, guys, you want to talk about some of the stuff going on with the teams you're following, Bills and the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll start us out, Jeff, if you don't mind, since
Sure.
the tragedy that struck us. No. Apparently, the Ravens were 24 straight wins in the preseason. And it came to an end with the Washington Commanders outdueled the Ravens and was a pretty thrilling preseason game, I think. It was a very good game overall. Bunch of lead changes, ties, things like that. Close calls. Good plays all around by everybody. But winning streak over, which honestly, even as a Ravens fan, I have to get reminded that we have this crazy preseason winning streak because it's the preseason. It doesn't matter. But Jim Harbaugh did not take it very well. Apparently, he doesn't like to lose at all. And
your preseason
in games
Lombardi
that
is
don't
gone.
matter.
Right, yeah. We won 24 straight, but
the preseason, it's the Harbaugh trophy for the preseason. It did
Pretty
a
much,
huge
yeah.
ceremony.
yeah. And then the Washington Commanders did the gritty in the end zone.
God.
We got in a
I
fight
don't
in
know
the end
what's
zone
more,
too. But
I don't know
whatever.
what's more pathetic: Harbaugh getting pissed off, or the Commanders acting like they won the Super Bowl. I really don't.
I think it's worse that the Ravens and Harbaugh getting mad about the Commanders
Yes,
celebrating.
I could agree
This is
with
what-
that.
Yeah.
It's a game that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean,
Who
if
cares?
you're a team that's going for a potential Super Bowl, this is the tryout. That's all this was, a glorified tryout.
All this are guys that are going to be that are playing for last roster spots are to get on the 16-man practice team.
Well,
So-
unless you're the Commanders who actually started Sam Howell for the first half and wanted to see what the rookie could do.
If
Yeah,
you
he had a
preseason
decent game.
fantasy
And-
Give all
football
props to
team-
Sam Howell.
and
He
are
had a
you
decent first half.
Are you against backups? This
the Ravens
is a
started their
typical
first team defense at first. and then come on.
typical Riverboat Ron. That's
It
what he does. He likes to gamble. He likes to throw it out there and see what
he
he's
did,
got.
yeah.
Come
Like he
on.
could have easily done a chip kick in, but no, he went for it on fourth and 3, I think, one time.
Yeah,
Riverboat
he's-
Harb's going to take his chances.
With the new ownership, he's going to run and see what he is because his job's on the line. He knows he's part of the old
That's it.
regime. He's got to come in and show off something crazy. Otherwise, he knows he's on the hot seat, and it's not from anything that he's done wrong or anything. It's because you're part of the old regime. You are a holdover from that. You're not their guy. You have to prove yourself to be their guy, and they're giving give new ownership the credit that they're giving him the chance. They didn't come in and clear house and say, no, we want our coach, we want all this. They came in and they're giving him a shot to prove
They've
he's
kept
the guy there.
Yeah, they've kept Rivera still there, and they've kept Sam Howell, who was drafted 2 years ago. I
it's
They
think.
brought in Eric Bimini from Kansas City.
Yep.
So I mean, Ron, hey, I've never really had a problem with Ron Rivera when he was in Carolina. Never really did. I root against him now because he's in the division with the Cowboys. But at the same
Yeah.
time, hey, you know what? He is a holdover from the old regime, as I just said. That's what it is. And I give credit to the ownership for giving him the opportunity to, keep the job. Come in and win and keep the job. Or,
Now speaking of that
we'll find our
ownership,
guy. So
I not that I'm complaining against him necessarily, but I do want to throw out that I do believe he was drunk talking to
Good
Troy
for him.
Aikman, the owner of the Washington
yes.
Redskins.
as well as he
and,
should have been. He should have
right. Yeah. No, I mean, he was talking about how being a boy of the city and cheering and bringing it back to the fans. And then they showed like how much fanfare there was last preseason compared to this preseason. It's an entirely different feel in Washington. Hope has returned to Washington. So, I mean,
Not only-
good for them for at least having hope and then reinvigorating that team.
In
Too.
a story that I
Again-
saw last.
Again, the
That's-
wicked witch of the East is what I call Dan Snyder, and he's gone now.
But one story I did see last week come out is that it's one of the Native American boards. I can't remember. It's like the improvement of Native Americans or something. I can't remember exactly the group that it was right off the top of my head, and I didn't save the story which I should have done to be able to bring it up here. But they've actually signed a petition and lobbied with, I think, 6,000 signatures as of at the moment of the story to lobby Washington to bring back the name Redskins. And from what I read on their stories, they feel underrepresented now in the sports world after the
I mean, you
let go
supposedly
of
it was
the Washington
offensive to
Redskins.
call Indians with the Cleveland team, so that's why they changed the Guardians. Redskins was supposedly a slang word for Indians too, so it had to go.
And my brother-in-law lives in South Dakota. He works with the reservations, and one of his friends there was really like pissed off and offended that they got rid of the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Redskins because everyone there on the reservations like had that memorabilia, those sports jerseys, the merchandise, because it was representative of them. And I'm not saying that everyone there felt the same way, but the people that he have there, I mean, you've got people on both sides of that they embrace those teams because that was their representation, that they were able to, hey, we're being represented here, and now they've had it all stripped away. I mean, that goes more into political and everything, but I just thought that was an interesting story that there is a group out there that is lobbying to have that name come back, because there has been a lot of talk with the new ownership of them doing a name change.
And they're going to change the name from Commanders to something. He already said they're going to be changing that.
Exactly. So they're going to be changing the name. Not that they're going to go back to the Redskins. I mean, if there's enough push and there's enough, it would have to be a significant movement from the Native American organization to help say we want this. If there was enough of that there, at that point, how can you not do it? If there's enough support from that group to get it. I mean, that's what it is. You're never going to make anybody happy in this world. That's just what it is. You're not going to make everybody happy. But at the same time, if you get the blessing, then go with it. They've got the history with it right there. But you knew they were going to get rid of it. It was kind of like ridiculous the way they changed the Commanders when there was already, Dan Snyder just didn't. Okay, yeah, I'll sell the team. He had been thinking about it for a while. Maybe I guess he thought the go ahead and let's go with Commanders might change the whole thing, and he'd be able to hold on to the team in some way. I don't know. We all knew that the change was going to be coming because they took over the team, and Commanders just and that pig mascot that came was just horrible. Horrible.
Well, they were initially going to be the Hogs, supposedly. The Washington Hogs.
Would have been better than the Commanders, I can tell you right now. It would have been a lot better than that. But there's some good change that could come with that. So, I mean, just something to keep an eye on that I thought was interesting, that there was actually some push from the Native American community to actually bring that name back, So, something interesting there. Another topic I wanted to touch on, which came out just a couple days ago, the Jonathan Taylor saga in Indy is still going, where the Indianapolis Colts have given Jonathan Taylor the opportunity to seek a trade. And before we go on everybody's opinion, I've got a hot take on this. I firmly believe that the Colts are doing this now at this point in the preseason, where every team has already put plans into place. They've got everything else going on. They're moving forward with the team that they've put together. Who is going to sit down and take the time to say, okay, what can we put together for Jonathan Taylor? How can we get him up to speed to get him ready for the start of the season? And how are we going to give up? What can we give up that's not going to be just a slap in the face of the Colts? Because the Colts right now, to me, they're calling Jonathan Taylor's bluff. Yeah. They're calling his bluff. They're going. They're let him go. Let you go out. Let him go out and go see what market he has. And when he doesn't have any market, because no one's going to trade for him because of the time of the year that it is, and people don't want to change up their roster this close.
Ones I've actually heard about is the Cowboys.
Tony Pollard, I've read a story about that as well too. I've read that story too.
I mean, they say you don't have to give up a first-round pick, but you give up the equivalent. So I mean, you get a proven Jonathan Taylor. Now, what do you got to sign him? Type of thing, yeah.
They already have to sign CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and then Dak's going to be coming back up for re-sign. You don't want to sign Jonathan Taylor to a long-term deal. They already had that problem with Ezekiel Elliott.
I'm not saying it's a good idea.
No, I've seen that as well too.
Because of that scenario with Pollard.
And Jonathan Taylor, I think he's a highly intelligent guy. He wants to go work for NASA whenever his NFL career is over. I mean, he's a smart guy, and he's a completely different runner than Zeke ever was. So he doesn't go take the abusing hits and everything. But at the same time, you can't lock up him and then lock up everybody else. Micah Parsons, they're going to lock up. That's just going to happen. So that's not part of it. To me, this is the Colts basically go see what you can get. When you don't get anything back, okay, let's make the agreement here. Play your ass off for us this year. Really boost up your trade value, and then we all win in the end. You'll get traded. We'll get a good return package for you after the season, and we go from there. And that's what I see what's going on with that. Because, yes, he is a top-tier running back. He is coming off an injury. But at the same time, he didn't have a great year last year. And to be able to change your entire team makeup, chemistry, and everything else 2 weeks before the season gets going. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask, and trying to turn around from changing your whole mentality to moving forward the way you've already set the plan for, to then let's blow everything here and try to see what we can get to get Jonathan Taylor. That doesn't set you up for success.
The whole running back market after the whole offseason was saying, hey, the value's down.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I said, they're pretty much calling a bluff and saying, hey, you're going to come crawling back and take what we give you.
And not even just crawling back, just come back and play well for us. Let's see what we can do. Let's give it one more run together.
Yeah, I hope that's what the Colts owners will do, but I don't trust the ownership of the Colts that much to say that's their motive. Irsay is now the worst owner in the league now that Snyder's gone.
Well, no one's going to be stupid enough to do this. And this includes Dallas. This includes everyone else. Who in their right fucking mind would get a first-round pick for a running back this season?
Don't count out the Raiders. Don't count out the Raiders with Davis Jr.
No. Who in their
never
right
count out the Raiders?
who in their right fucking mind would sign a running, or who would agree to give up a first-round pick?
Equivalent to a first-round pick. It may be a second or fourth.
Okay.
Whatever the point system makes.
Combination of two to get to
that's what they're asking for. That's what they're asking for. They're
equivalent of a first-round pick.
They're idiots for asking that, but that's what they're asking.
No, they're asking that for reasons so no one will take it.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. I'm not disagreeing.
They're not idiots for asking that. You always ask high.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying though is like there's no fucking way any team in the NFL would give a first round pick and then agree once they get Jonathan Taylor to resign him to a new deal. Like, what kind of team would do that? That is literally impossible. And just to address your point, Chris, this is a play by the Colts. This is a game that they're playing with Jonathan Taylor. And if I'm Jonathan Taylor, look, yes, I agree the running back position is getting screwed, but you don't play the Le'Veon Bell game, okay? Because we saw what happened with it. His career ended after his little contract dispute. So, again, you're getting screwed. The person you need to get mad at is the head of the NFLPA, which I believe is still DeMaurice Smith. Your NFLPA agreed to you getting fucked over till 2031. Those are the people that you need to blame. And again, I don't know why the Colts are going through this whole ordeal, because you'd hate to set up your rookie quarterback to line up to have a disaster. But again, to your point, there's no way any team will take this deal, and they know that.
Now, the only team I can actually see
luck for a disaster
is Miami Dolphins. That's the only team I can see taking a rider on this, is the Miami Dolphins. because they don't necessarily have a
their
running back
room is
taking
stacked.
pressure off Tua, so he doesn't get a
Jeff
concussion
Wilson,
again. Maybe
Myles Gaskin. I mean, come on, their running back room is stacked. Maybe they could send 2-3 of them over.
Level. It's not a Jonathan Taylor.
No, it's not Jonathan Taylor level. I mean, there's few teams that have a Jonathan Taylor level talent.
Exactly.
But at the same time, running backs are devalued, and you have the whole part of bringing him in and trade for him is he's going to want to be signed to a long-term deal.
Oh, yeah.
No one's going to do that. Because everybody else has their players they need to lock up. You got to lock up your defensive ends. Quarterbacks are coming up. Spock talking about Miami. As long as Tua isn't knocked senseless again this year, they're going to have to lock him up here soon if they continue to going on with him. His contract's coming up. You've got Tyreek Hill. Are you going to sign Tyreek Hill? Are you not going to let Tyreek Hill walk or Jalen Waddle walk because you signed Jonathan Taylor? No, not at all. You got to keep those two together. You have to. So
I'm just saying
that's the only team
I see actually as the outlier. That's my dark horse in the whole Jonathan Taylor. Now I do believe they're calling the bluff, and Jonathan Taylor will most likely be back with the Colts, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, but I mean,
well,
if there were a team, I guess I will say this: if there were a team that did need a running back, it would be Miami. But still, it would just be irresponsible for any team to do that.
Well, we already know they're irresponsible the way they handled Tua's concussion protocol last year, so we already know they don't care.
Well, I know a team that needs a running back.
Mm-hmm.
Your Baltimore Ravens. They could use him, could they not?
J.K. Dobbins is back.
J.K. Dobbins is on the level of Jonathan Taylor. None of them are on the spot of Jonathan Taylor. Don't tell me that you would not like Jonathan Taylor right there behind Lamar Jackson. They could run the freaking sweep the whole time.
Oh, I'm not saying I wouldn't like it, but not when they got J.K.
You wouldn't like it
Dobbins
financially.
back. Yeah.
Financially, you wouldn't like it.
Basically, they would have to trade Jake Dobbins for Jonathan Taylor would be my best guess.
It'd be more than that. And another thing going on in the NFL right now, injuries. Just injuries going left and right. Speaking on the Cowboys side, John Stevens Jr. tearing his ACL was really showing off there at tight end. He was going to make a roster spot this year. And the biggest hit, Demarion Overshawn out of Texas, the rookie. I really think that hurt badly. He looked good at Texas. I was really looking forward to him playing this year. And I feel so bad for him getting knocked out just from that kind of reason. I mean, it sucks having an ACL, especially coming into your rookie season when you're ready to come show what you can do and taking in the second round pick. I really was looking forward to him playing, but it is what it is right there, and it just really thins out the Cowboys linebacker group. Leighton Vander Esch is their most experienced player now with 6-year tenure. And and we were talking, before this, it's opening up for Jabril Cox. Jabril Cox came out of LSU, has been highly touted, has really, he's had some injuries. He's had some, hasn't really been able to live up to the expectation he has. To me, this is Jabril Cox's opportunity to come in, and he now has the ball in his court. He is the healthiest he's been since he's been a pro. He now has a chance to come in and show he needs to be in the league and prove it right here. The ball's in his court. He has the opportunity to run with it and take it over and prove what everybody believed he could do. And I think I hate this happened to Overshawn, but at the same time, this may be the opportunity Jabril Cox has been needing to ignite his career.
Yeah, because like I said, he hasn't lived up to it or played up to it either when he's even in games. Mm-hmm. He's missed a lot of tackles I think he should have had.
He has.
His coverage skills have actually been about where I expected them to, but I don't think I've seen them progress is the problem.
Well, I mean,
his reads and drops haven't been as crisp.
Right. I mean, at this point, if Jabril Cox is not going to progress after this injury to Overshawn, it's over. His career's over. He's not going to be able to do anything anywhere else. I mean, I hate to
Well, I mean,
be.
he's going to be a special teams linebacker. That's the most he's going to be able to carve out.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to be that
Mhm.
blunt, but the reality of the situation is that Jabril Cox is greatly underperformed, whether that be due to injury or whether that be due to play. Now, this, like you said, Chris, this is his full opportunity now. So if he doesn't take advantage of it, then it's on him. So
Yeah, he has got no one else to blame at this point.
so this is his sole opportunity. One thing, again, not to be selfish, but I would like to talk about the patheticness of my team.
Yes,
so
you are being
far.
selfish.
I will
You
be
selfish
selfish
bastard.
right now.
Go for it.
So 22 drives.
Asshole.
22 drives it took for the Bengals.
You sound like Chris Bishop right now. Selfish asshole.
Gotta see. Walk away.
And there goes Jay.
Anyways,
22 drives.
22 drives without a. No, you got that shitty grin on your face. You're drinking.
You're really
I'm sorry.
You think you're so
Making it
proud of
more
yourself.
No,
You're so fucking proud of yourself.
the
right now.
reason that comment came
No,
up
you-
is
no,
is
you-
because
you just-
our friend Matt Holtz, who paid out
Is he our
to have.
friend? Is he our friend? Is he?
He's our acquaintance. He's our acquaintance.
He's an acquaintance then. He's acquaintance to
Put out the
Jeff.
video.
He's not a friend.
I'm looking it up right now. Well,
Yeah.
Not a friend.
A nice happy birthday video that he sent to our friend on one of the ones where you get celebrities to talk to you.
yeah, Alan Richardson, who played Thad Castle on Blue Mountain State,
I
called
know.
one
He
of Brother
did that
Terry
like
Brothers.
15 years ago. Or
A selfish
11
asshole.
No, not 15 years
He
ago.
did. He
Well,
paid $75 for
11
the Blue
years
Mountain
ago,
State
yeah.
movie support fund, crowdsource whatever to get Thad to call Bishop itself his asshole, which is hilarious. You can look it up. It's out on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can find it. And
It's
maybe we'll
awesome.
post it up to one of our pages because it is hilarious. But anyways,
Anyway,
go ahead.
The backup quarterback situation is an issue for our team. When you have Trevor Siemian and Jake Browning as your backup quarterbacks, Jake Browning should just be on a cab squad somewhere. And then Trevor Siemian is probably a third string level quarterback. And it's very concerning if Joe Burrow were to go down, which, I mean, thankfully it's the preseason at this point. I don't trust him or anyone else on our roster currently to even be competitive in an NFL game.
Well, how many other backups in the league are you fully trusting to come in and take over and win the rest of the season for you? There's not many of them on any teams that you're trusted to come in. Even with the Cowboys in my situation, yeah, Cooper Rush came in and did a great job last season when Dak went down, but nobody expected that to happen. That came out of nowhere. However, okay, yes, I don't trust Trevor Siemian. Are you really that worried about Joe Burrow going down? Are you that concerned that that's going to happen?
Well, he's down right now.
I know he's down right now,
So
but I think a lot of that is that they're not playing him at all.
Like he's going to miss a week or two, or you think he's going to be ready by the start of the season, but you're worried once the season starts?
No, I'm worried when the season starts. If he were to go down, then what's going to happen? Then what?
You got Trevor
can't worry
Siemian.
about. You're gonna have to let Trevor Siemian run it there, or you're gonna have to wait and see what happens
We just got
with cuts. You're gonna have to wait. Maybe Tyrod Taylor will come available. You can get him. He's a good bus driver.
Very true.
Oh,
Very true.
Johnny Football's still out there. You don't want to miss out on Manziel Mania.
Yeah.
Throw him in.
Yeah. Now the one
they're all better than
I
Trevor
will throw
Siemian.
in to this, Jeff, that hurts your position is the fact
Go
that
ahead and
teams can
joke
keep
about
up to 3 active
I'm not
QBs on
joking
their
about
roster
it.
now.
Go ahead and joke
So
about it.
teams can hold on to that random third quarterback now. They don't have to
about it.
say, "Here's my 2 QBs I'm going to the season
Sure.
with."
Yeah,
They can
it's
hold
fine.
on to 3 QBs now.
I'm not joking about it, but
maybe Joe Mixon could be the quarterback then if we're gonna joke about it.
I'm not joking
Hey.
about it. I'm just
I
saying
think people
there are
say
going to be
people are
quarterbacks.
joking about it.
Wildcat formation, baby.
If you're not sold on Simeon, which I'm not, of course, I don't think Simeon's worth anything. The other guy, I'm not even going to remember his name because he's never going to play again, so I don't really care. There are going to be other players. There are going to be other players out there. They're going to get cut from these other teams that aren't going to make it. So you're going to have an opportunity to find another journeyman quarterback that you could come in and help service you at some later time. Maybe you could make a trade with somebody, with somebody low, to get a backup if need be. There's a lot of opportunity with that still open. There's still some other guys still up for free agency that you can still grab if you need be, if these guys aren't fulfilling what needs to happen. But they're not going to play Burrow right now.
Really come, I think, until
with that injury that he got, they were not going to put him in any preseason games because they're not going to risk him because they're not going to be. Zach Taylor's not going to be the coach to say he's not going to be the first coach to come in and get my quarterback injured in preseason. No.
Did I ask for that? I didn't ask for that. What I'm saying is we need a legitimate backup quarterback that could get some reps and still some confidence in this group.
If you get
we
a good
don't have
veteran
that right now.
If you get a good veteran and you don't need to have him play any preseason games, if you get a good veteran that didn't step in, Burrow's going to start the season. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, if something happens, you have plenty of time to find a good veteran who can come in, learn the offense, and step in and be a bus driver. You've got plenty of time for that. I wouldn't be worried about that right
now. I mean, the Ravens' backup right now is going to be Josh Johnson because Tyler Huntley's injured from preseason.
And Josh Johnson,
that's a third string all quarterback over the right there. Yeah.
Well, at least he's played for 15 different teams.
I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, Sports said we don't want you.
Well, I mean, come on. Look
doing something right.
Look at San Francisco. They had Brock Purdy come out as the third string quarterback, and then look what he did. And he was a rookie. No one expected that from him. Sometimes you guys, when they get put under pressure, they actually rise to the occasion. Not all the time, but sometimes they do. So don't lose faith because it's preseason ball where they're still learning everything right there. Maybe it will click later on. Maybe you already got the guy there and you just haven't shown it. We're not going to know until that situation happens, but you're also not going to know if you need him if Burrow doesn't get hurt. So,
all right, so I guess
as I tell my wife all the time, there's no reason to worry about things that haven't happened yet. You can plan for them, but you can't worry about them because you're giving yourself unneeded worry. There's enough worry in this world. You don't need to worry about that.
My point is we're not planning for it. And we haven't planned for it for a long time.
Yeah, the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens are basically hanging on by a shoestring and veterans that we signed for 1-year deals, especially with Marlon Humphrey being out. We have Ronald Darby down to a 1-year deal, Javian Clowney, who is a bust, but hopefully has a great year. I think he fits the system better than Yankovic, or the old Minnesota Vikings linebacker.
I'd still kick the tires on Clowney. I'd kick the tire on him.
Maybe next year the Bengals invest in a legitimate round pick on a backup quarterback for a change. Because we haven't done that since.
Well, you might want to ask Burrow that. No QB likes to have a backup drafted.
We haven't invested a pick in a backup quarterback since 1989.
Why do you invest a pick in a backup quarterback? A backup quarterback. You're not going to invest a high pick on someone who's going to ride the bench the whole time just in case. You invest a high pick on offensive line. Get better protection for Burrow. Then you don't have to worry about him getting hurt.
Right. Your QB wants assets. He doesn't want a backup.
At some point, we will need to. But the Mike Brown administration.
That's what you get veterans for that could not be proven starters. That's why you sign them.
You get veteran bus drivers to sit in the back. Don't draft somebody to come in do that because then you got Burrow looking over his shoulder because you've drafted my replacement. Sometimes that works, but it doesn't always work.
No one's replacing Joseph.
No one's going to replace him. Exactly.
If you take a second-round pick to draft a quarterback as the backup
instead of an offensive line,
you said a pick to do that.
You said a high pick.
You said a high pick.
Okay, by high pick I mean like third or fourth round draft pick.
That's still too high.
And that could still be seen as a threat.
Yes.
If you
And it's
drafted in
not
the
a
6th or
threat.
7th round, then okay. But why are you going to do that? You want a veteran bus driver who can come in and win you a game if need be, maybe 2, at least keep you close. But you don't want if you have the best backup in the league, it's a good thing to have. But
Oh, I would love to have that. See,
But who
trade
cares?
value too.
Yeah.
Trade value too.
Would you rather have the
Good.
best backup or the best QB in the league, which Burrow arguably is?
no,
I
no,
want both.
I
Can
wouldn't
have
say
both?
that.
I want both.
No,
I
wouldn't say. I would not say that. Would you rather have the best backup quarterback in the league or the best offensive line in the league?
Well, I'd have the best offensive line in the league.
Absolutely. So
But
build up
the
your offensive
reality
line,
is-
protect your quarterback, and then you don't have to worry about a backup quarterback because
The
you've got
reality
a
is
good
the
line
Bengals
that's
line is
protected
shit anyway, and they needed to put assets
They
into
should
it.
be
And they
investing
put their
in the
assets in there.
offensive line. Build
Like
the
getting
meat and
Orlando
potatoes,
Brown.
build up the line. Then you don't have to worry about a backup quarterback. Then it doesn't matter who you throw
Yeah.
back there. You can throw Trevor
Keep him
Siemian back there
upright.
because he's going to be protected. He's going to have time to throw the ball. He's going to have 6 seconds to look around and go, then
Get
throw
Bryce
it and
Young
still
with
throw
his
an interception.
9-step drops that he needs to take because
Trevor
he's so
Siemian
short.
can have 10 seconds. He's going to still fuck it up.
Just saying, the backup quarterback is a position not to worry about until you need it. Yeah, you want to plan for it, but at the same time, if you've got a good offensive line, it doesn't matter who your back quarterback is. Like with the Cowboys, no one thought Cooper Rush was going to do what he did last year. They thought he was serviceable, but no one thought he would be that. And then people were like, "Oh, people should sign him as a starting quarterback." We're like, "No, he's not a starting quarterback. Cooper Rush will never be a starting quarterback in this league." But in the system that he knows, because he's been there for so damn long, he could come in and fill the position that he needs to do. So what you need more than just a good backup quarterback, it's good to have someone who stays in the system and learns the system and get somebody as close as you can to your starting quarterback's talents.
And we don't have that.
And okay, who else out there has Joe Burrow's talents that you could put as a backup quarterback?
I just say I admit in terms of familiarity with the offensive system. Okay. So,
I'm just saying talent-wise, who matches Joe Burrow as a backup quarterback that you could put in there and actually
Obviously no one matches that. No one's
So
asking for that.
No one has a
piecing
backup
up
QB
people
at least.
together. They're piecing people together to see what they can find. And it's hard because you've got to be able to get people to come there and do that and accept that backup role. It's not glamorous position. I mean, really, it should be a glamorous position. Backup quarterback should be the best position in football because you get paid a lot of money and then you don't have to deal with any of the problems, you know? Really, it should be a glamorous position, but I would take it. I would take it.
Yeah, I'll take the $5 million a year.
Sit
whatever.
here.
Minimum.
I just said sit here with a thumb up my butt and not even.
No, I just think you're
Zach Taylor as a
worrying
coach.
about something you don't have to worry about. I think you're over concerned. Like you're so worried Joe Burrow's going to get hurt and that's it. Okay, well then just give up. Then give up on the season. Then why are you even watching? Why are you? If you're already going to be negative about the whole thing, you've already condemned yourself to we're done. Like okay, if
they were done, but
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. Then you deal with it at that time. But at that time, why are you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? Burrow's not done for the season. Okay, if something happens and Burrow's now done for the season, okay, let's worry about it now. But why are you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? Like you're down in the doldrums and the season hasn't even started. About a backup quarterback, who cares? You've got one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league.
I
in the league.
That, but what happens?
It's Mahomes, Allen, Burrow.
What happens? You could have Burrow play all 16 games like he did last year.
Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
Burrow
Why are you worried about what hasn't happened? If all you're doing is giving yourself unneeded stress, that doesn't need to happen. Be excited about the season. The season hasn't started yet. Be excited about it. Quit getting upset about it before you haven't even had something back.
Do you have insurance? Do you like insurance? I like insurance sometimes.
I'm not. Yeah,
sure. I mean, Maybe if I sprain my foot, I'm probably not going to do it. But if I do,
you know what?
I'd like
insurance is great. But you know what? Insurance is great. But you know what? I don't sit there and drive every day to work thinking, what if I wreck my car today? What's going to fucking happen? No, I don't. I'm thinking about everything else.
My car, like the woman in San Antonio.
Yes. No, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, I have insurance, but you know what? At the same time, you have to live your life. You have to go on, enjoy what's going on. Okay, are we going to look at the bad things that happen or what could happen and worry about that all the time? No, because all you're doing is wasting your life. Enjoy yourself. You've got a great situation. Don't sit there and worry about what could happen.
That's what I.
Okay, if you want to be upset about not having insurance, and go ahead and do that instead of enjoying the fact that you have one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league, one of the 3 top tier. Everybody else besides those top 3 is the next level. You have that. Enjoy it. Quit worrying about what could happen and that you don't have the insurance below it.
Looks like a decent offensive line in front of him and a good running back to take off some of those blitzers.
And one of the best receivers in the league, Jamar Chase.
And good tight
ends. On top of that,
they can block.
You have T. Higgins, who's a legitimate number 1 on any other fucking team. You have everything to be happy about, and you're in the doldrums about a backup quarterback. Come on, man.
Come on, man. The Ravens are going to take the division this year.
All right. Well, that's been a great NFL talk there. I think we hit about everything else. Anything else we missed, we'll get into the sports gun, but we'll be back here in just a few moments as we get ready into jump into college football starting up here in the next week. So we'll be back here in just a few minutes. And welcome back from the break. It is time for it's that wonderful time of the year where college football is knocking on the door. We'll be getting going with that this coming Saturday.
As George Carlin says, football season starts when everything's dying.
It does. But at the same time, after this Saturday, we've got football all the way till February. That's
officially
great.
Returned.
It has. It's back, and I'm really excited about it. I'll be with the realignment. We've talked about the realignment left and right, and everything that's been going on with it. And it's really hard to keep up with. It's going to be crazy getting everything going, but because of that, I'm a little bit more interested just because of the different games. Like I understand, and we've talked about the pros and the cons about how all this is happening. And I've been thinking about it a whole lot that, I'm in Big Ten country now. I've been in Big Ten country for the past 4 years. So I mainly get those certain games. Those are the games that I get.
Oh, I know. And it's not
and they're good games. I mean, I can always make sure. I always know I can see Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, we could always see that. I still get Texas OU every year, so that's been good. I've been able to get to see that game. But the fact that and it's terrible for the rest of the other athletes, as we talked about last week, the different, all the other athletes who weren't consulted on this and that are going to have to deal with the travel times and everything. However, as a viewer, possibly get to see some of these USC, UCLA games, Oregon, Washington games that I didn't care to watch beforehand because I'm on Eastern Standard Time now. A lot of those were on Pacific Standard Time when I'd watch them, and those games, they're coming on at 10 o'clock at night here. I'm not watching that game all the way through. I may be watching, if I watch any of it, I watch the first quarter and I'm going to bed. I'm done. So the fact that with them switching, joining the Big Ten, that they're going to have some games where they're going to be playing over here that I'm going to get to see some of these players that I've only been able to get to watch highlights on for the past 4 years. Because at least in the Central Time Zone, if you want to stay up and watch, the late Pacific game, going on, or say even in baseball, if the Rangers are playing Oakland or the Angels late.
Well, it's mountains right now.
But still, you stay up and watch it. It's not that bad of an evening. If you're on the East
Mhm.
Coast, that's an extra hour you add on. I mean, it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't do that. A lot of people over here can't do it. They don't watch those West Coast games. So to be able to actually have those teams come over, I mean, that's a good thing for viewership and, you know, these East Coast, areas being able to actually see some of the talent that's out over there that's been in the Pac-12. So that's a good thing right there. But I mean, that's at least the one thing I'm to look for a silver lining. I mean, at least I get to see SEC teams, and it is what it is. They're following the money. The money is going to be the whole reason for any of this. I mean, if any of these other teams in the Big 12 and the ACC, if the SEC or Big 10 ask them,
I'm curious if this is
to
going to
come,
affect any
they can
NIL
still
deals
come.
too. Some of those colleges now may be able to say, "Hey, we have Eastern and Western, the main major markets, for NIL money." Maybe they're able to get more money because they say this person's viewed in a large viewership on the Eastern Coast and they're viewed largely
Maybe.
on the Western Coast. Maybe that gives them.
They may be
more
able
appeal.
to, and that's something that can be brought up and talked to, because there's talk about how in the next 10 years it's going to be a 2 conference system. It's going to be who's in the SEC or who's in the Big 10, and then everyone else.
Yeah.
Who's
the
left
ACC
over.
and Big 12.
And
right
this
now
was
it's
the
still kind
talk.
of a Big 4, but yeah.
Well, this is the talk that I've heard about, is the way, because even with the Big 12 and the ACC, if any of those teams were offered a bid from either the Big 10 or the SEC, they're going to take it, because they're going to make double, triple the money for the TV deals than what they're making right now in those other leagues. So it's just a matter of time before we get to basically in an NFC, AFC section of college football. You have the Big 10 and the SEC, and then everyone else is the XFL or the Canadian Football League at that point. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you're going to have your 2 big conferences, and then
Notre
it's
Dame's
going to have
to
an
pick a side
NFL look
at that
at
point
it.
too.
Do they, though? They don't have to.
If you get to 2 mega conferences.
We had that conversation before. Even with 2 mega conferences, NBC is going to pay. NBC can still pay. They will still pay because they'll get the money.
Mega conferences, they'll be gone. You'll have the Big 10 and SEC.
Unless if
so who's there to pay them?
But football, they won't, unless like I could see all their other sports going to the Big 10. Easy. I could see that happening. But football, unless the Big 10 can match NBC's deal, and NBC, I think, will throw all the money in the world to it, because they know they will always get viewership for that. And they know they will always have it done.
Well, you have to remember too, NBC has the Big 10 now. I wasn't pointing at anything else.
So maybe
I threw a wag of the finger at us.
If that aspect happens, they do have the Big 10. You're right, they do have the Big 10 in that aspect. Maybe that could be where they join the Big 10 at that point, because really that's why they're staying independent, because of that NBC deal. They know they're going to be the primetime game. But then that aspect is, if they do join the Big 10, even with the NBC and the money and everything's all right, are they guaranteed to be the primetime all the time? Because right now, Saturday, they will be on Saturday, primetime NBC, middle of the day, playing Navy. Navy is not a good football team. And we can talk about this later, but my wife's late uncle, we actually had this conversation of how the military academies could actually improve their football programs. Remind me, we'll talk about that at a later time of that whole conversation we had, because he was in the Army. He served in our Operation Iraqi Freedom and won the Bronze Star. So the man, I believe, when he talked about the military, he's one to talk to about that. Rest in peace, Matt. We miss you. But we'll talk about that at a later time, of what his thoughts of how the military academies could improve their football teams. But still, Notre Dame's got that prime time. They're going to be prime time every single time they play. So even joining the Big
1:30
Ten,
next
are they
Saturday.
still going to be prime time? Now, if they can work that into their deal, is that, hey, they are, but if they join the Big Ten, there's so many other great programs on there that if they're playing Navy, Middle Tennessee State, they're playing, I mean, that once you join the Big Ten, they don't have the choice to pick their schedule as they do now as an independent. So there's a lot to go on with that. And how much money is it going to take to convince the hierarchy at Notre Dame to give up all of the freedom that they have right now? I mean, how much money is it going to take?
Yeah. Like right now, the money's, you can't count the money right now. Like I said, NBC will just counter whatever author is thrown out there. But like I said, if you actually do move to 2 mega conferences, AFC, NFC type of deal,
that hasn't happened yet, but that could.
It hasn't happened yet, but that has been some talk. Then I do think Notre Dame has to pick a side.
And as long as our broadcast is still going on by then, we'll discuss it then and see what's going on with that. Hopefully on a national level.
Yeah, we're going into Jeff's backup QB territory. That's a what if. So let me get off of that.
Yeah, but also too,
careful.
You know, just
sore subject.
When you go to when we talk about Notre Dame, I mean, think about the ratings for these games that they're going to generate for their school. You know, you're going to have the Ohio State game at home on NBC. Which will be at 7:30 Eastern time. That's going to get monster ratings, as will the USC game 3 weeks later.
USC always, the Battle of the Shillelagh is always huge.
And when they go to Clemson on, now granted, it won't be on NBC, but it will still involve them when they go to Clemson. That's certainly probably going to be a prime time game, so they demand attention. But also, too, I just kind of wanted to do a reset here. Think about with all the realignment stuff and all the NIL stuff, what a change it's been in the past 3 or 4 years. We're not even talking about, like, you know, who's going to win the national championship or who can win the national championship. What's actually happening on the field? It's all about, you know, behind the scenes stuff, and it's just sad because this is not the sport that we grew up watching. Look, we all love college football because we love watching the sport, not because of realignment talk and because, you know, what team could go to which particular conference. But now that's
great rivalries and things of that nature.
Yeah, and then all those are gone now. So
well, they're not all gone in the aspect. I think in some of this realignment, you're igniting old rivalries, such as
very true.
With Texas and OU going over the SEC, you have the Texas A&M game, which we talked about already. With that's been brought up. But the thing is that, you know, there is some talk. This is kind of covered, as you were saying. You know, this is what all the talk's about is the realignment, because it is the big story and it is huge of how much change has happened here in the last couple of months. It's been more change in college football that's happened in probably the past 20 years. It's just it's unprecedented the way that it's going right now, and that's covering up the talk about the rankings. I just brought up the AP top 25. You've got Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama as your top 4. 2 Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams, who are all going to be really, really good and will all be facing each other. At number 5, you have LSU. There's going to be so much shakeup with all these teams playing each other that maybe that's the thing that college football can spin this as you get into more of a 2 dominant conference, is that there's going to be more parity. Like, just because you're ranked number 1, you're not going to be able to have a cupcake schedule because of everyone you're going to be playing in your conference is going to be there to knock you down.
And you could have a very seriously extended playoff series too, much like the NFL structure.
Well, that's why they
bowl games, money-wise, are crazy.
Well, I mean, again, that's why they expanded to 12 teams starting next football season. because of this
exactly.
alignment.
There's a lot of going on with that because right now, because if things are going like they are, Georgia has to be perfect again. They have to be perfect. They cannot lose. If they lose one, every game is a playoff game this entire season for Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama, and LSU. Every game is a playoff. So in that aspect, in a viewership view, that makes it more exciting because if you lose, you're out. You have to win to get it in.
They can lose one.
But you have to think
that's
about
still, like you said,
California,
you're bringing up a lot of what if in that scenario too. Because I mean, Alabama uncharacteristically lost 2 last year.
Yeah,
uncharacteristically. They still had one. They were saying TCU would have been out and Alabama would have been in.
They would have been, but TCU that was to me kind of a fluke year for TCU. They're at TCU's ranked 17th this year. I don't see TCU doing that again. That happened. And good for TCU. I was rooting for and supporting TCU the whole way. I absolutely was. I really wish they could.
Yeah, who was it?
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was a terrible showing there, and I felt terrible for them. And yeah, it was embarrassing what happened there.
Yeah.
Maybe that motivates TCU. I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot. To me, I'm looking forward to this college football season for the excitement because every game is going to be a playoff game for these top 25 teams. There's going to be a lot of changing. What we have set up now in the top 25, we're not going to have going at the end of the season. There's going to be a lot of movement going in every which way, and every team's destiny is in their own hands this year that we haven't seen in a while. I think that there's going to be a lot of upheaval in every team, and of course, I root for the Longhorns. They're 11th starting out right now, but they have the season in their hands. Their last season in the Big 12. They run the Big 12. They've got a great chance of being in the playoff. Great chance.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But you've got every team has their destiny in their hands. Like as long as you win your games, you've got a chance to be in it. Any team in the top 25 really has it because any of these teams can lose out, and we've seen them all do that. Yes, Georgia consistently has been good. We don't expect them to do it. Michigan, they've been good last year, but they've had their faults. Michigan is where at 2, I see them dropping out.
I see
them dropping too.
Everyone does because they haven't shown the consistency that Georgia and Alabama have had. Yeah, Alabama last year had 2 uncharacteristic losses. Uncharacteristic. That's why Alabama has them at 4. You still see them being into that. Ohio State has been consistently in the playoff every single year that they've had this playoff set up. There's no reason to doubt them on that. LSU has had their ups and downs, but they've got a great solid team. Every team going down. USC at 6, Penn State at 7,
and don't
Florida
forget
State
about the Beavers
Clemson
for Jeff,
9,
Oregon
Washington
State in there
10,
at 16.
Ready
to roll.
State.
Every team in the top 25, as long as they win their games and they go through and don't have any bad losses, have a chance. This is going to be a very exciting college football season, and I'm really looking forward to covering it with both of you because I think we're going to have a lot of great conversation going in with this because there is going to be a lot to talk about
for
here.
TCU too.
And
he started that season for Duggan last year.
And next week, each of us need to have our top 4 college football playoff predictions.
Oh, exactly. We'll do our predictions next week.
Don't you give me homework?
That way, we'll do our predictions next week, and we'll write those down. Oh, you will not
Oregon
put
State
Oregon State in your top 4. I dare you.
Will I not?
I triple dog dare you.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
But yeah, we can do our top 4 next week, and that way we can compare it into then at the end of the season and see where we all stand. Hey, maybe we'll make a little bet involved with it. We'll see. We'll in a week.
Sounds good.
Whoever has the least amount in there, we'll have to do something. We can have something fun to do with it. Why not? And maybe, you know what? Hey, we'll send it out to the viewers and see. Maybe you guys can throw something in on that of what the bet should be. All right. So now we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back with everyone's favorite segment in the podcast, What the F with Jeff. Be back in a moment.
What the f?
And welcome back from the break, as it's that time of the night for everyone's favorite segment in Next Round Sports, What the F with Jeff. So, Jeff, what the F?
And I always try and talk about everything. I had a couple things in my mind tonight, but there's some things that are just so egregious in the world of sport that you just can't help yourself addressing. And then once again, our favorite umpire is Angel Hernandez.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Angel Hernandez, our favorite umpire, is under fire once again. And he...
Oh, is that a day that ends with Y?
3-2
pitch, a fastball. Come on now.
Yeah, now this is getting ridiculous.
How do you miss that?
That's
pitch?
terrible.
Here it comes. Called strike three, and Schwarber is thrown out of the game, and he had zero issue with getting thrown out. Making it very clear, you've missed him inside, outside, up and down. Kyle.
You don't find many people who can do that. When he gets hurt, he's up in the zone. And usually because you missed your spot, that's what happens.
That was easily strike three.
Well, it was right down the middle, but the point is that Castillo wanted it inside, and Angel Hernandez was somehow fooled on a pitch right down the middle.
I mean, this is absolutely strike three in every world you could imagine.
Fastball's right down the middle, but he had a long way to go to get it.
That was also possibly strike three. Called strike three. That was
okay. So once again, we're here with Angel Hernandez being a terrible umpire, and he was under fire on Sunday afternoon. And again, this is a huge series because you have the Braves trying to contend for an NL pennant, and you have the Giants trying to get a wild card spot. And then you had multiple egregious strike calls. In total, Angel Hernandez had 22 missed calls, according to umpire auditor on Twitter. And again, typical with Angel Hernandez, he's pulled this crap for years. And then again, we've seen egregious calls from him in the past, and we saw egregious calls from him again. Calls that are clearly outside the strike zone, to the point where commentators are laughing at his strike calls. According to the Twitter account, Umpire Auditor, which is a very legitimate account, Angel Hernandez missed 22 calls in this game and remains dead last in correct call rate this season. And it's gotten to the point now, obviously these umpires, I think, would have to know that they're going to get replaced by an automated system. Do you think this is just straight up rebellion from Angel Hernandez and perhaps other umpires? But obviously, he's missed calls for years, and he's had issues with MLB and multiple levels. But I just want to see what your thoughts on that, because I mean, this is just an all-time low, and it gets worse.
Well, there have been talks for years about AI and computer tracking to bring in with that, and I, for one, think that takes away from the game. You got to have the element of human error. That's going to happen. That's part of the game. Okay, yeah, we can critique every little bit down, but to me, that takes away the game. That takes away the fundamentals of it, the fun of it, the actual, human aspect of the game. Yes, can you get the right call? Okay, but at what expense are we getting the right call? So I don't want robotic umpires behind the catcher making sure everything is exactly perfectly the way it is. I like that aspect of the human error. But saying that at the same time,
we have fuck sticks like Angel Hernandez.
When Angel Hernandez, who, 22 missed calls in this one. This is just a broken record. He had just a bad time. He was out last week. This is where the MLB Umpire Association has to go, look, dude, you need to hang it up. It's done. You cannot be behind, you can't be behind. Put him out.
You put him out
anymore. You have a basically 4-minute YouTube section to his missed calls. That's a problem. As funny as it is, I also only think this is just a very bad umpire. I don't think it's a bad rebellious. I don't think it's an overall total of the umpires in baseball as a total. I think for the most part they get it right. It's just Angel Hernandez is that bad that he stands out like a sore thumb. And you have to call
if you're going to keep him, as an up, he cannot be behind the plate. Keep him out at first base, third base, out in center field. Keep him anywhere else but from behind the plate. He cannot be behind the plate because he is proving way too many times why he shouldn't be there. And Major League Baseball needs to make this an aspect with the umpires union of saying he is not fit to do his job. And guess what? Here are multiple 4 or 5 minute YouTube videos of his games of why he cannot do his job.
How many years has this been? We've been talking about this since we've been in college.
We have been.
Angel Hernandez.
He's been terrible for years. So, at this point, what does he have on either the union reps or the league? What dirt does he have on him? Because this is egregious. This is terrible. But at the same time, there's a reason why we all know Angel Hernandez's name and no one else knows any other umpire's name in baseball because they all don't suck as bad as he does. Yeah, does everybody make a bad call? They do. But at the same time, they make a lot of good calls as well, too.
Exactly.
Now, every manager in baseball will not agree with me on that.
Right.
That's why we have the ejections that we do. But at the same time,
every baseball fan knows who the fuck Angel Hernandez is.
Everyone does because of this. And that's what you have to unfortunately deal with. Eventually his time will come. That will take care of it. But you can't I don't see AI taking any aspect in officiating games because there's no wiggle room in that. And you need the wiggle room. You need that human aspect when it comes to it because there needs to be a judgment call when things happen. And AI is not going to give you the right judgment call of they're going to go by what's programmed, what has to be. That's what it is. That's what it is no matter what. There has to be some wiggle room of a human aspect to put into it. And I'll take a bad call here and there. Now, Angel Hernandez needs to be replaced completely. He does not need to officiate another game because he's proven why he shouldn't do it. His judgment is flexed. He doesn't know what he's talking about anymore. He should be gone. But every other umpire shouldn't be replaced because of it. If I'm arguing that point.
Yeah. maybe
See,
not.
that's why
but
he's so
how come
egregious. That's why he stands out, because the other guys are so good at their job.
How come the umpires aren't stepping up? Because if shit like this is
Because
going
it's
to
a
happen,
union. It's one of their own. They're not going
It's
to
a
point the
union.
finger like
The
that.
union
fuck
will
cares?
They even upheld one of
because
his bad calls
But
because
the thing
he's
is,
a umpire and it's balls
but
and
they're
strikes.
going
Hey,
because
that's
of
the thing with
assholes
unions.
like that. Because of assholes like that, they're going to lose their job to AI. It's because of
No,
one
they
dude.
won't lose it to AI. They won't lose it because of one bad apple. But at the same time, they're going to
But what's it
circle
gonna
the
take,
wagons.
though?
They're
What's it
going to
gonna
circle the
take, though,
wagons.
to
That's
get
what
his
they
ass-
do.
What's it going to take to get Angel Hernandez out there?
More YouTube videos of them blasting him, of the announcers
Again,
sitting there.
We've talked about this since college with Angel
We
Hernandez.
have, but with the announcers calling out on live broadcast and it becoming a more of an issue with the public. When the public makes the outcry for it, then they will be able to move with it. The public has not made the outcry. The only people crying about it have been fans at the games. Then they forget about it until he does it again. But he's done it for multiple weeks in a row. It becomes a story. And as it becomes a story and it stays hot in the mindset of the public pushes the dollars where this isn't right. And especially when it's affecting a potential pennant winner in bad calls, that's going to bring more.
And he
It's
also
got to
hasn't
be the
called
fans.
a World Series since 2005, which is where you put your best umpires. They know he's not good. They don't put him in that position.
Oh, but then he still gets to affect games with,
I'm not saying
exactly.
It's right,
but the more people talk about it, the more everyone talks about it, the more conversation that's brought up about it is the only way that changes. Because I can tell you right now, no one else until this here recently remembered Angel Hernandez from our college days. Remembered his name until he did it again, and they saw a blip of him doing a bad call. They're like, "Oh yeah, Angel Hernandez. Oh, didn't we talk about him a couple years ago? They had some bad calls." They don't remember. He's not a name that you think about.
Oh, I
we
do.
We do. But look at what we're doing. We're doing a sports podcast. That's what we're doing. We're talking about sports. That's what we do. Joe Schmo Plumber over here, who's dealing with his daily of everyone yelling at him for not getting to his job on time, and is dealing with an explosive toilet. He doesn't care about Angel Hernandez. He doesn't care about that. Okay, he heard it maybe when he was taking a 5-minute cigarette break, and he looked up and saw it on SportsCenter and goes, "Oh, that guy sucks. Why is he still umpired?" But then after that, he's not thinking about it anymore. So
I still think about it.
Well, I know you do. I know I do. I know Caleb does. But the thing is when the fans continually hear it about it, and that's the thing with Angel Hernandez. It's becoming a weekly occurrence. As it's talked about more and more, that brings up more than, he's been terrible for years. We as sports fans who've followed up with it have known. But Joe Blow, Mr. I catch a baseball game every once in a while, or I watch football, but maybe I watch baseball if I get a free ticket to the game. They don't care. They don't know. But once you start seeing it, once you start hearing about it every week, wait, I heard about this guy last week. He had a bad call then. Whoa, okay, now there's there's a YouTube video that shows, wow, holy crap, that guy has bad calls all the time. 22 bad calls in one game? What the hell is he doing? It brings up the conversation, and that is what will pressure them to get rid of him. They're not going to do the union's not going to get rid of one of their guys until they have enough pressure to do it. That's the way the unions are.
Yeah.
Well,
they're gonna circle the wagons and protect their guy. That's the reason for the union.
I hate to again, don't, as much as I take a shit and will continue to take a shit on Angel Hernandez.
I will too, without a second thought.
He only this year, just by the way, just as a note, he worked a single game on April 3rd before suffering a back injury, and then he started umpiring again this year, July 31st. He's already 61 years old. I mean,
he needs to retire. He's done. He obviously can't. He needs to get his eyes checked. As much as they say that about every umpire.
This is my point. He wants to fuck over. He wants to give a middle finger to everyone else.
I just want somebody to play three blind mice whenever he's behind the plate.
They should.
That's all I want.
They definitely should. And is he trying to? The thing is, I want to know.
Well, he's trying to start off.
Someone
piss off people.
Someone needs to interview him and go, okay, are you trying to F everyone over, or you really just can't see? Give him a date.
Be that Josh Hamilton red contact question when he said he couldn't see in Texas.
Let's see him on 60 Minutes. Let's see him on 60 Minutes where they give him an eye exam. And we actually see if maybe, okay, his eyesight's going out and he's just being denial of it, or he's just being a dick. Show me that. Give me some reason to show why, okay, hey, maybe I should feel for this guy. Maybe his eyesight's going away, and he honestly is just having denial about it, is just trying to fight it because he's doing like everybody else at that age where he feels like he can still compete at his job and doesn't want to, give up on it. Give me a reason to believe him, okay? I'm good for that. But until you show me the human side of it where I can actually, I feel for the guy. No, he sucks at his job. Get rid of him. But that's the thing, is that with the union, they're not going to do that because he's paid his dues. He's a union voting member, and they're going to circle the wagons. So they're going to support him no matter what, because that's what you do in a union. And I'm up here in Uniontown where they do that with unions all the time. Down in Texas, we don't have unions. Up in Pennsylvania, they have unions. And those unions you don't F with.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why.
2023.
I agree. We're on the same page. I agree with you completely, Jeff. You and I are on the same page. I just know this is the reason why they're not doing anything, because the union's not going to do anything because he's a paying,
exactly right, Porter.
card-carrying member. And they're not. They're going to support him no matter what.
And if they say he looks bad, they're going to think that makes them look bad too. So they can't admit it that way either.
And maybe they're doing something behind the scenes, and they won't say it until they actually have it all taken care of because they're taking care of it in house. We don't know, and we're not going to know till they've taken care of it in house. But the thing is, the only way to get anything done is to completely put this out into the internet, into the airwaves, into everywhere, showing how bad he is. Because unless you have enough public outcry, they won't change it. He will still officiate games.
These are the positives of the internet.
Yep, that's the positives of the internet. There's a lot of negatives of the internet, but those are the positives of the internet. That you can. That's the only way to build change is completely put out YouTube videos of his embarrassing calls, which is what they are. They're fully embarrassing. I fully agree with you. He should not be officiating games, but the only way to change that is to call it out and bring it to a forefront to where Major League Baseball goes to the umpires union and goes, what is going on here? Why aren't we addressing this? We're tired of the bad press from this. All comes down to that, as we've always said.
Money.
Always comes down to money.
It's like Dr. Haskins.
Exactly. All right, good segment there, guys. We'll be back here in just a moment with the Sports Gumbo.
That's good. That's good. Man, that's good. That's what you call gumbo. Poor man gumbo.
Welcome back from the break as we're ready to hit our last segment, the Sports Gumbo. We're going to bring whatever else we may have missed throughout the evening and anything else we may just haven't had time to hit. And I know there's one thing that's been simmering there in that roux this whole time for Jeff that he's just ready. You're ready to throw in the okra, everything else, whatever else you throw in that gumbo, you're ready to jump into this. And this is one segment, one particular subject you've really wanted to hit. So take it away.
Yeah, I want to put some of that Carolina barbecue sauce in there when I'm eating right now.
You don't put Carolina barbecue
I
sauce
know,
in
right?
gumbo. Stop that.
No, I don't want gumbo.
Too sweet.
And I want Carolina barbecue with my Carolina pork right now. But I'm pissed. I'm pissed right now because
You're not even on the right coast from what we started this discussion about.
No, not at all.
To the correct
no,
coast.
no. Hold on. Can I finish a goddamn sentence here?
Well, then finish it. Quit sitting there and
know.
stuttering.
No, y'all are just
You're just making me hungry.
You're just jumping in and have fun. Yeah, no. If you want to go ahead, go ahead.
If you're gonna say it, just say it.
I'm pissed right now because I'm a little worried that DJ Uiagalelei is going to be the starting quarterback of the Oregon State Beavers. Yes,
He's already said he's going to be the starting quarterback.
He's been
there.
named, sir.
I said that. What I'm
Sorry,
saying.
we thought you
said you're
said
worried
he
he's
would
going-
be.
I thought you said you're
worried he
worried
would
he's
be.
going to be.
No,
Right,
I
that's
said,
what we thought we were.
okay. Well, I'm worried that he is the starting quarterback.
Why are you
I'm
worried?
that
Why are
he's
you worried
named
that he is? Why are you worried
because-
that he's the starting quarterback? Why are you worried
Because-
about that?
Because he sucked at Clemson. He was not very good.
He looked good at Clemson. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't Trevor Lawrence.
No, but
who is arguably?
They didn't contend
Yeah?
for national championships, and Cole Klubenik is going to take them to the college football playoff. We'll talk about that next week.
Oh, really? Oh, foreshadowing.
It's a little tease there for
Yeah, that's a
viewers
tease.
there. But this is a man that has been touted as being the greatest. No one's ever denied him that he's the greatest. Everyone said he does everything perfect, does everything great. He's awesome. But Oregon State football is about being a game manager, being able to run the football. That's what Oregon State excelled in fantastically last year. That's why they contended with the top teams in the Pac-12 last year. And
Who are all gone.
well, okay, but there's still one more year left under the okay. But
Yeah,
they'll still be there for one more year.
This goes
Yeah,
back to
one more year.
We have one more year left, regardless of whether or not anyone likes it or not. And so I want this to be a run-centric team. I don't want this team to change their identity because DJ Uiagalelei is there. I want them still to be a run-focused team. I want them to focus on defense. I want them to focus on stopping the run and having physical corners like they always had back in the day.
I figure the coach sets the scheme, though, so I don't think it would be based on the QB.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, if he is the best player out there in the quarterback room, why are you not going to start your best player? If he comes out and competes and the other quarterbacks are not up to his level, why can't you? Why do you not put your best player out on the field?
And that's why I trust Jonathan Smith to do that. Because I know who Jonathan Smith was last time Oregon State went to the BCS Bowl under Dennis Erickson in 2000. So I trust his judgment to do that because he's the head coach of this team right now. But
so who's Scott Smith?
Jonathan Smith, head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, who's going to take them into the Big 12 starting in 2024. Like I said. But my point is that again, I'm not going to dispute what Jonathan Smith wants to do. This guy is beyond talented. He shows it in practice. He's an elite quarterback, but I don't want them to change their identity. So I'm a little concerned that if they start throwing the football and abandon the identity to what made them successful, I would hate for them to lose not only an opportunity to win the Pac-12 this year, but then to potentially, and most importantly, lose an opportunity to go into the Big 12. That's all I'm saying. And I'm very, very concerned about it because he was a failure at Clemson. You said
Okay,
utter
he was a failure at Clemson.
Utter failure.
He wasn't. Okay, then he was a failure at Clemson. But if he's the best player and he comes out and competes and beats all your other quarterbacks in every other aspect, as a coach, why would you not put the best player out there to represent you?
Because you're leaving your identity.
You can't. Identity goes out the window whenever you have a better player.
That's
why. And again, this is why I trust Jonathan Smith.
This is why you have competitions during the preseason before you even start the games, and you have these guys compete and show who is the best player and who deserves the starting spot. This isn't like Aaron Rodgers coming in to the Jets as been going on with Hard Knocks. That's a completely different situation.
I don't want Oregon State to treat it like this. That's my concern.
Well, they need to treat it as who's the best player at that position. That's what you do. You start the best player at that position, and you work around it from there. Okay, I understand you want them to run the ball. You want to do that right there, but that's not what needs to happen, especially if they're going to the Big 12. The Big 12 isn't about running the football anymore. It used to be back when Earl the Pearl Campbell was running for there, but that's not what it is anymore. And if you want them to get into the Big 12, they need to show that they can compete in that passing offense in the way that it goes. And sorry, but if he is the best player at that position and he beats out every other player, you can't not, as a head coach, sit there and talk to your donors and to the president of the university and say, yeah, I know here's the best player. He's better than every other quarterback we have, but sorry, I can't start him because he doesn't fit our image.
And that's
that he's going to get fired because of that. He's not going to put his neck out on the line to not start DJ because of that. No coach will do that. No.
I agree with you.
Nick Saban
should have been recruited to go to the program because
it happened.
He got put in the spot.
Well, it happened.
And now Oregon State could screw themselves over.
Hey, there is one coach that could say that. Nick Saban.
Okay, but
if he went to Alabama and Saban goes, he doesn't fit my system, I'm not starting him. He's the only coach that can say it. Well, maybe Kirby Smart at Georgia.
Yeah,
Kirby might have it now. Georgia might have it now too.
I understand that. Jonathan Smith has no choice. You're right. He has no choice.
He has no choice. But at the same time, if he starts it and he is successful because, hey, he sucked at Clemson. Maybe he needed to change the scenery. How many quarterbacks needed to change the scenery and they succeeded? How many have done that?
A lot of quarterbacks have done that.
Exactly. So instead of just throwing it all out on him is that, oh, well, he sucked there and this doesn't fit the system. We don't know yet. Okay, we get in the game. We get to week 4 of the season, and DJ's been terrible, and Oregon State's 0-4, and okay, now you got to let him stand on of, okay, we can't start him anymore. But
I'm just saying this is a critical point. It's a very, very critical point, as I've said ad nauseum.
Well, is this a critical point in your bet that you said Oregon State's going to win the Pac-12?
Mm-hmm. I didn't make any fucking bet at all. I said U.S.
You didn't make a bet. You just made it wasn't a bet. It was just you just been very confident about them getting that and them getting into the Big 12 for that.
Yes, and I think
we know you're passionate for them on that. We didn't say. Sorry, I misspoke. You didn't make a bet on it. You made a prediction, and that was your prediction. Yeah. That was what it was. But
Jeff's fully behind the Beavers.
Exactly, and if he's the best quarterback, though, at the same time, if he's better than any other quarterback that you have on the roster, how do you not start him? How do you not start him? And then how as a coach? As a coach, how do you sell that to your boosters?
And you can't. And this is why I never would have touched the guy. That's the problem, because he's going to look so good in camp. You can't not sell it. when you recruit a guy like this, you have to take him and you have to start him, and it sucks. I hope they survive from this. I hope they just focus.
Well, how do we know that he's not motivated now? How do we know that
I think you're thinking wrong too, Jeff. Scheme comes from the coach.
Before. He wasn't motivated to replace Trevor Lawrence. He wasn't motivated to potentially be the next number 1 overall.
Trevor Lawrence just spanked his booty out of there. It had nothing to do with him being motivated to beat him. Trevor Lawrence was just better than him.
Maybe
he lost to Cole Klubenek, who's probably going to win the Heisman Trophy.
Maybe him and Dabo Swinney just butted heads. Maybe it wasn't what he thought it was going to be when he was there, and maybe this is his chance for redemption. We don't know.
And again, this is the biggest. And again,
maybe he needed to be on the West Coast.
And again, I'll preface this by saying this is the most talented recruit on paper that Oregon State's ever got. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But and again, that's the curse of this. That's the curse of this, is because this is the best talented player that Oregon State's ever gotten. Ever walked on that campus. But then again, this is scary because you don't know what he's going to do. You do not know what he's going to do.
You don't, but you kick the tires, because if he comes out and plays the way that is expected of him, and what has been expected of him since he's come in, even before he came to the college ranks,
that he's a fucking legend.
And not only is he a legend, but then you're not looking at just getting a Big 12 bid. You're looking at getting a Big 10 bid.
Possible.
At least Big 12 bid.
And well, at least, yes, at least. But if he comes out and he has a Heisman quality season, he gets them to win the Pac-12 and get into the playoffs, and not saying win the national championship, but make some noise where they lose like in a field goal before, in the game, in a playoff game. Hey, you've made enough noise there that maybe the Big Ten's going, hey, we brought in Oregon. Why didn't we bring in Oregon State? You've brought the talk in there. And he's the kind of guy that can do that.
At his peak, he is a revolutionary quarterback for college football.
Okay, so at that point,
and again, and like Chris, this is why this is kind of the
it's the risk versus reward.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the reward outweighs the risk on this.
Yep.
Because worst case scenario, you finish well enough that the Big 12 is going to take you in. But if you do this, then you give a reason why the Big 10, why they just took the Oregon Ducks. Why didn't they take us? Well, we recruited this. We were able to get this in here. So why didn't you recruit us?
Very true.
He's frozen, isn't he?
Good now. I'm good.
He's good now.
Yeah.
He was dead for a second, and he came back to life.
He came back to life.
No, but all I'm going to say is that, yes, we've discussed this ad nauseum, and then, again, this is the revolutionary player that could save Oregon State. And I hope
it gets them the chance to get in the Big 10. Where they want to be, where Oregon went to.
Big 12.
Maybe all these Big
12.
The Big 12. The Big 12 is the bridesmaid to them right now, because Oregon got the Big 10. Oregon got the Big 10.
I know.
That's where it is. I know. So if they get to the Big 12, that's great. That's good. But they're still looked at as the little brother. If they want to be held at the same height as Oregon, they have to get to the Big 10, and this is the way they get to it.
Of course they are, but at the same time, though, we don't want we don't. If I'm Oregon State, I don't want to be stuck in the Mountain West either.
No, you don't want to be stuck in the Mountain West. So you put it in on
and
DJ.
I want to at least get to the Big 12. At least get to the Big 12.
No, but don't set your sights so low. No, you want to be in the Big Ten where Oregon just got invited to. You want to be there with them.
We talked about last week about how
we have talked about that, but at the same time, you are now the stepchild. If you want to get into the Big Ten where they're at, you have to show out. You have to do it, and they have the quarterback now that they could do it with. But the whole thing is, Big 12 is your safety net.
Right.
That has to be your safety net. It has to be.
Y'all are saying last week how it's crazy to think that Oregon State could even picture getting in that.
I do agree that it's crazy.
Yeah.
I completely agree that it's crazy. But at the same time, this is what you have to think of if you're Oregon State. I'm putting myself in Oregon State's shoes. Our rival, Oregon, is now going to the Big Ten after next year.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
We are the redheaded stepchild unless we come out here and show everyone else we deserve to be there, and we beat them. Like, we go into our game with Oregon and we annihilate them like 53-13. Like, we beat their ass hands down, and they make a good showing and show why they should be there, because their goal shouldn't be the Big 12. The Big 12 should be their safety net. They should be going in to prove to the Big Ten, why didn't you take us?
I mean,
and if they come through that and they whip Oregon's ass and they go in and they win the Pac-12, and then they make noise, they don't have to win the championship, but they make noise in the championship, playoffs.
Yeah.
Then the Big Ten's going to go, hey, you know what? Sorry, Oregon State, let's bring you in. But I don't
always be the orange-haired stepchild.
They will, but they don't have a chance unless DJ is the quarterback.
We'll see. It's going to be fast things.
If he is not the quarterback, they do not have a chance to do any of that. And that's a lot. That's a lot they have to do.
But if DJ performs up to his paper, this team can win the Pac-12.
No, absolutely. I'm not arguing that. He can. If he
USC.
If he plays the way that he should, the way that we all believed he would play at Clemson, absolutely. He has the skill set to do it. The fact is, he needs to do it, and Oregon State needs him to do it to get a to get a Big Ten bid.
And Jonathan Smith knows that, and then I just have to. And again,
that's the chance. This is their chance. They're betting on each other. He's betting on them to upgrade his draft quality, to bring him up in the draft.
And
they're betting on him
to take them to the next level of conference.
To the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But the Big 12 to them, it should be their
safety
net.
Mountain West. At least out of the Mountain West.
Mountain West is if everything is worst case scenario. The Big 12 is their safety net. That's that's where we're getting into as long as everything goes mediocre.
Right.
They're betting on DJ to bring them in to the Big Ten, and them winning the Pac-12 this year and proving why they should have been brought in instead of Oregon. That's what they have to do. That's how you get yourself there, is you beat the hell out of Oregon, you win the Pac-12, and then you look at the Big Ten and go, why didn't you offer us a bid? That's what you do. Am I wrong in any aspect of that?
No.
If they can do any of that, they can turn around to the Big Ten and they basically can go, hey, where's our bid? And the Big Ten's going to give them one because they have a leg to stand on. They'll take them in because they're a good team. Because if they don't, the SEC or ACC, everybody else is going to try to grab them. So, of course, they'll take them because they already took Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. The problem is they have to do it. They can't do it without DJ. They can't. All right.
It's going to be a fascinating.
Were there any other aspects that you guys think that we missed?
I wanted to bring up and see what your guys' thoughts are. A couple new rules in the NFL coming up. One is fourth downs are always reviewed now, so you don't have to waste a challenge on a fourth down play. They're always going to see if it was short or made it, whatever. Might make the game a little longer, but I think it's an all right rule.
I don't have any arguments with that rule.
Right, yeah. Not me either, really. The second one's where I got a little bit of kind of interesting questions because it's going to play a little interesting havoc on rosters, I think, that we're not used to. And that's the 3 quarterback rule.
Mm-hmm.
So normally teams will suit up 2 QBs. They'll have their starter and their backup. And that's also the only QBs they carry on a 53-man roster. So what the 3 quarterback rule allows them to do is have a third quarterback ready for games in case the first 2 get injured or ejected. That's the only way the third quarterback can come into a game and actually play, is if there's an ejection or injury. But that third QB doesn't count for the game day roster, but it does have to be on your 53-man roster. So your final cuts might have to include 3 QBs if you want to carry that third QB into the games going forward.
Yeah, that doesn't really concern me, to be honest with you. With the way and again, I know I'm being slightly hypocritical here, considering
your backup QB situation.
But okay, so a third quarterback takes up a spot for member 53 on who's probably going to play special teams. It just, to me, it doesn't really matter.
And I mean, you could play havoc with the practice squad. You could play around with this too. Like if someone's got a bum shoulder or something that week, maybe you say, well, I want to carry the third QB. So I'm going to bring up the practice squad QB, put him on my 53 active and send the guy down to the practice squad.
Yeah. And I have a feeling still. Yeah. And I have a feeling, and I think this started last year too, is that I think teams were already kind of mentally preparing for this, and they know how to prepare for this scenario. So personally, I'm not overly concerned about this issue. I know that there's talk when this came up last year with this being discussed, but I'm truly not concerned with this being an issue for teams at this point.
Yeah, I think it would be worse if it counted against your game day total.
But it's
then
not,
I think you're hurting other positions. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think having it the way it is, you're probably cutting someone who would probably be on your special team side anyway as a spectacular, which kickoffs are being phased out of the game anyway. Even there's a new kickoff rule too, where if you catch it anywhere near the 25, you start at the 25. So I say I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I was just curious to see what y'all's opinions was on it.
Well, there'll be new hurdles to take care of, and I mean, regardless, it doesn't matter what we feel about it. That's just the way that it's going to be, and we're just going to have to react to, okay, how are these situations affecting the game? Because they're going to happen no matter what we feel about it, what any talking heads feel about it. We'll just have to react to the way that it's affecting the game, and that's the way I think we should approach it from that point on.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, just think about, the future of the kickoff return and the punt return and all of that. I mean, I think the kickoff return will certainly be extinct here probably in a few years, unfortunately.
I don't think it will be. I think there are going to be some changes that happen with it.
I hope so.
You can't take it away because it's that's an aspect I don't think that needs to be taken away from the game. And
I don't think it should be either, but I'm just saying that's what they're looking.
I know they've been trending toward that way, but I think there have been enough pushback from not only players now, but also former players, and there have been people who've been involved in it more, players exactly, who have been pushing against it of not getting rid of it because it is a good aspect of the game. Great conversation here. I know that next week we're going to go ahead and have our picks for our Final Four for the college football bracket. Also next week we're going to go ahead and start bringing a different aspect. I know we've talked about it a little bit between ourselves, but we'll go ahead and bring in who we're looking at are our fantasy picks. We're not going to do a whole bunch of fantasy. This is not a fantasy football podcast, but we want to bring in, basically just kind of what we're thinking on our fantasy teams. If that helps you with your teams, then that's great. But kind of, talk a little bit about that and bring that in.
And also some point spread picks as well.
Yeah, we're going to bring some point spread picks as well. So if you want to do your gambling, like I said, our advice is free. May not be good, but it's free.
Bet at your own risk.
Exactly. Bet at your own risk on that. So we're going to bring some of those different aspects along coming up here with the football season getting underway. But we'll have all that coming up, here in the next few episodes. We'll also, as the NFL season gets going, give our predictions of our division winners and who we think are going to go to the Super Bowl. So we'll give those out so that we can then come back and see how we did as the season goes along. So we're looking forward to all that. We're thankful for all of you who are listening to us and, viewing us that are on YouTube. We'll be branching out, eventually. But as of right now, catch us on YouTube. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for going on with that, guys. You got anything else you want to say out to all of our viewers out there?
We're just here for y'all, and we'll be, as time goes on, we'll be producing videos for y'all. We'll be producing content for y'all. We'll explore more content for y'all, and so all three of us are always here to talk, and we're always open to extended discussion about sports regardless of the venue. So let's go. We're ready to go. It's football season. So let's go. We're always open to talk about anything. And again, also too, with us being DFW centric, I know Chris is in Pittsburgh right now, but he's been in Dallas-Fort Worth for 30 years of his life. So we're ready to talk about baseball too, and hopefully let's get us a pennant season. So go Rangers as well.
Jeff, give the email address for anybody that'd like to reach out to us.
Oh, yes, absolutely. nextroundsports@gmail.com. So feel free to send us a question, send us a topic to talk about. We're always open to talk about something new. So, sometimes our topics can get a little maybe a little boring to the viewers, but if the viewers have something that they want to talk about, it doesn't even have to be sports related. So, we could talk about anything. So, feel free to just reach out to us, and we'll certainly address it. So we appreciate the viewership and listenership. So
send us an email. What do you want to hear us talk about? Is there something that you want to hear with What the F with Jeff? Is there something you want him to really get into? Reach out to us.
How it feels about
let us work together. We're a group. We're a family together. This is our clan. We're building it together. And we want to hear from you because we want to provide content that you want to hear. It's not just like we started this as just something that we enjoy doing, and we want to talk about our teams. We want to enjoy that. But at the same time, we've now brought it out to a broader audience, and we want to know what do you want us to talk about. Pose questions to us that we can then answer if you want our opinions on. Let's all talk about it together, and let's bring this conversation more and more as we build this, this clan up, and we keep going on from there and there. But once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to us. I looked today at the views, and it's starting to build up as it goes along. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you there, and that way you can do that and select the notifications so that you can get the latest the latest videos as they come up. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. I'd like to thank Caleb, Jeff, for spending our time today. It was once again an enjoyable evening. As always, I look forward to it every week, and we'll look forward to doing everything again next week. This is Chris Porter. Want to thank everyone for joining us, and have a good evening. We'll talk to you next time. See you next week, everybody.